So, previously I made a video regarding someone on the subreddit on how it was a pretty bad place to get your information from when it came down to character lore, but is fine when it comes to gameplay. Well, what I'm about to show in this video is a step up in how much worse this gets when it comes to this character Satyr on the subreddit. Because as you had seen on this thumbnail, they locked this specific comment thread on a post to prevent anyone from telling this person named Phoenix that he is wrong about what he is saying about Satyr, protecting disinformation in the process. This is perhaps the most ridiculous thing that I have ever seen from this subreddit. So then, how did we get here? To start from the beginning, I go on Reddit and browse it. Many go to Reddit for information or look at the impressions towards things. I'm not much different. After looking over some subreddits of games I played, I then went into the Granblue subreddit. I browsed some posts and I see one of interest. One that was named, "Who's your favorite character?" So out of curiosity, I look over the post to see what characters people are holding interest in. After viewing some posts, I eventually come across someone's comment owned by a person named Phoenix Burning. At first glance, it looks like he's just speaking about Satyr's character lore, and rather incorrectly. But the problem lied in what he was saying in the next few sentences about her biology and sexuality, instantly telling me that his person was bad news, as he was saying that same old jargon about her being implied to be intersex and pansexual. Phoenix also puts focus on this specific thing instead of choosing not to say anything about that, by purposefully saying this is aside from how she is implied about her. Obviously, everything he's saying is flat out wrong. But Burning's goal here is to get more people thinking that about Satyr, and he'll get more into that soon. Underneath his comment is someone named Lawful, and he's a friend of mine who has seen what I had shown to many, including himself, when it came to Primal Beast lore. He spotted Burning and decided to lay out why he is wrong about everything he's saying regarding Satyr, followed by the fact that everything Burning is saying may have just been picked up from someone else, and that it is delusion, because it doesn't make sense for him to say any of these things, especially given how the plot has developed in 2025. Lawful starts with what Burning, quote-unquote, set aside, the bit about implications about Satyr's biology, as nothing was ever implying that about her in the first place. It really isn't difficult to understand why Burning was saying this, because he misread what Nezo said in Primal Resonance, and attributed it to what Medusa tried to say next and was cut off. But again, due to Burning and many other people's lack of reading comprehension or will to read anyhow, they missed how the conversation continued, all the while misunderstanding that what Nezha meant before Medusa changes the subject, that Nezha was saying that primals are actually primal cores, which basically has no mortal characteristics because it's an object. Yet the primals were intended to be created to look the way they do outside the core state, as it was predetermined by their creators and is unchangeable. For the pansexual part, calling Satyr this makes zero sense, because event stories had been saying that primals cannot feel lust, but they have the potential to feel love and develop emotion. Primals are not organic beings, and astrals created them to be godlike weapons of destruction. The Primal Pals, the group of characters Satyr is a part of, have always been about friendship and bonds. But what Burning is insinuating is the furthest thing away from the character. Love is not sex or sexuality. The other thing Lawful pointed out had to do with Burning saying that Satyr was a much more quieter person in her past. This is also completely wrong, because Satyr is always energetic or chill. But this is also a part of her that did not really get her anywhere during the times of the war dated 500 years back from the story. What I mean by this is that, as Satyr explains, that any attempt of her striking up conversation with anyone resulted in small talk. This being because primals were the enemy back then, this in the end left her feeling alone. At the end of explaining these things, Lawful links the Primal Lore video I had created, as many can learn from it about what primals are actually all about. So in response to this, Burning exposes himself and goes, "Hello, Satyr guy. And if you've seen previous videos on this community, you can already tell what this guy's all about now, as his intentions are now out completely in the open, and you can also easily guess what he's about to do next." On top of his earlier accusation of saying that someone else is in fact me, he starts throwing another accusation of me saying that he should put a bullet in himself. The crazy thing is, and as usual, he doesn't link any evidence. He says this happened on Blue Sky, and on that site I was being constantly harassed by people spreading garbage about Satyr in tandem with lies about me. all the while forcing stuff about her. It's really no different from Twitter, and I really don't like looking back at it. They are aware of this and find it funny to sexual harass me. In a situation where no one is getting reprimanded at all for their actions, and me dealing with what I dealt with for 5 years, it's possible that I did say this in self-defense, as this situation obviously makes me sick. And it was already stated by me that this sort of stuff came close to just driving me to suicide. Again, these people are very well aware of what they're doing. It is exactly what it sounds like. It is clear that burning doesn't show anything, because it would either show the full context of his harassment towards me, or it's just an outright lie. No different from other people. He says, if I get upset at saying implied characteristic backgrounds, I'm not doing anyone a service even if I was correct. This doesn't make any sense. He cared enough of this thing he calls an implied characteristic to bring it up when it wasn't one to begin with, due to his clearly obvious obsession with sexuality that doesn't fit in the game when it comes to primal beasts. No, I believe you mean that I'm not doing a service for people like you. You made this comment to get others thinking there was sexual biological connotations with the character Satyr. You're even saying that you wish to see me crash out whenever there's any confirmation on that regard. There's a big difference between me and you. You're waiting for a confirmation on something having to do with sexuality for 6 years, if you've played since Primal Resonance's debut. You're basically waiting to be shamed. As you've been hit with soft confirmations, many times showing how you're wrong, while at the same time, there was nothing insinuating anything in the first place. But I'm waiting for a power-up in the backstory that I've often told many about. Yet people misconstrued that as me acting like you. So to summarize what happens next. Lawful tells Burning that he is using me as a boogeyman to make excuses, all the while using his biases of characters with different sexual orientations to justify that Satyr has a different biology when she doesn't. Burning crashes out, which is quite ironic given what he said about me earlier, thinking that isn't true and that he has to be me, and slamming down an entire paragraph of jargon that I'm not even going to bother going into because it's mostly nonsense. Also, in reality, I am IP banned, so there's no way he is me. I am IP banned because I tried to come out about the harassment that the mods weren't really doing anything about. It seemed as though they weren't even present. But whoever was seemingly left decided to ban me instead of the obvious offenders. After this point, I was banned from the subreddit, but I went on an alt and tried to call it out again due to the neglect of what was happening to me. And then I was IP banned. I could only browse the site and not comment. Some weeks later, eventually someone called out that the mod team on the subreddit was basically non-existent. Then about 2 or so years later, what was left of the mod team made a new mod team, with acknowledgement towards the fact that there was little to no moderation, so it was like I was removed for nothing. You know, Burning wants to assume that this person is me, asking how one doesn't find it strange that this person who is rightfully denying what he is saying about Satyr is wrong. But why is it that anyone isn't questioning why these people are obsessing over Satyr's sexuality so often and using me as a boogeyman? Why is it that when I was stalked the entire time and harassed on the subreddit, no one did a thing? Why does this person get any special treatment at all? Afterwards, Lawful's comment was removed by the Reddit mod team, so he reposts it with the added bonus of the fact that they're defending the disinformation posted by Burning, the baseless accusations included. But after that, the mods then remove all the comments Lawful made, and then lock Burning's comment thread on the post to prevent anyone from commenting to him about being wrong about Satyr and just blatantly protecting disinformation, instead of just deleting all comments of that thread. With this, you can see why you should never come here for anything lore related, given how badly they wanted to protect this information. Again, this is one of the most ridiculous things I've seen a subreddit do for a person whose goal is to just misinform people about a character and a person so more people can run around saying the very offensively forced thing many don't like. But you know what? How about you guys go there and share exactly why Burning Phoenix is wrong about Satyr? Because the mod team seeks to prevent any comment Burning made from being replied to with the correct info. Going to the subreddit for gameplay is fine, because gameplay is the thing many people will know the most about compared to lore. But then again, Who is to say they won't be like this towards anything said in that regard as well? Now, I'd like to end this on a quote from MGS2.
You exercise your right to freedom, and this is the result. All rhetoric to avoid conflict and protect each other from hurt. The untested truths, spun by different interests, continue to churn and accumulate in the sandbox of political correctness and value systems.
Everyone withdraws into their own small gated community, afraid of a larger forum. They stay inside their little ponds, leaking whatever truth suits them into the growing cesspool of society at large.